Here we are at Peyton Road and North Utoy Creek, approximately 1 mile west of the crossing of Willis Mill Road. In 1958, two great gentlemen in the history of Atlanta, Mr. Wilbur G. Kurtz, a famous artist, the man who documented many historical places as a professional artist, worked for Coca-Cola as their historian, was originally born in Chicago and moved to Atlanta around 1900. He did his very first project studying the Great Locomotive Chase, came to Atlanta to meet Captain Fuller, the former conductor on the General, and then met his daughter, married her, and the rest is history. She brought him back to Atlanta. He began documenting the history of Atlanta. Wilbur Kurtz's best friend was an Army colonel named Alan P. Julian. And Alan P. Julian had the responsibility for the Georgia Historical Commission to write a majority of the historical military markers for the Georgia Historical Commission. He got input from Mr. Wilbur Kurtz and also from Franklin Garrett, who later became the historian for the Historical Society. This particular site is very important because Johnson's division of the 14th Army Corps, after the first day operation at Utoy Creek, was ordered to move down what is now the Peyton Road at North Utoy and make a crossing around the flank. The dismounted Confederate cavalry of Armstrong was all along the high ridge south of North Utoy Creek. And they were there at the time of this crossing. Now, it's a big deal in the Army for a unit to have to cross a body of water under fire. The Confederate soldiers south of the creek had artillery and were firing on the only regular Army brigade in Sherman's Army. King's Brigade was made up of the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th U.S. Regulars. They all joined together and they did a forced water crossing here of North Utoy Creek. Why is this such a dangerous thing? Well, in August 1864, every afternoon, it rains, and you have the potential of being caught south of the creek where you can't get support. So these guys charged across the creek under fire and took the hill. Now, the Confederates under Armstrong simply withdrew a quarter of a mile back up the hill and held their position again. One of the significant things about this particular place is in 1958, the committee of Wilbur Kurtz, Franklin Garrett, and Colonel A.P. Julian, the historian from Fort McPherson, decided this was one of the places that needed to be marked for the Battle of Utoy Creek. And this particular water crossing made by the 15th and 18th U.S. Regulars, who were the skirmishers, followed by the brigade that forced a crossing under fire, is a big thing in the Army. It's hard to do that when people are shooting at you. They also had artillery up the hill that was firing at them. So this is an important feature in the significance of the Battle of Utoy Creek. And what else is important? There used to be a wooden bridge here. It was called the Bankston Bridge. The Confederates had burned it, so the Federals were not able to cross with dry feet across North Utoy Creek. They had to actually go into the water and cross. And this also limits their ability to move artillery. Now later, a week later, the Army of the Ohio's engineers rebuilt the bridge here and also at Willis Mill so they could move artillery down. All right, here we are south of North Utoy Creek along Peyton Road. We're looking down at the bridge that crosses Peyton Road with the homeowner, and you can see North Utoy Creek, which is a significant body of water right now. It hasn't rained today, but if you recall in August 1864, it rained every afternoon. So North Utoy Creek would have been a torrent, like a mini Chattahoochee River. Now at this particular this hill, which is a significant piece of topography, the defending force, Armstrong's cavalry, had some force on this hill. We're trying to ascertain today whether or not they just had a few scouts or if there was a significant defensive position. The reason I think there was a significant defensive position is the 15th, 16th, and 18th U.S. Regulars reported they crossed under fire, and there was artillery fire upon them as well. And those regiments lined up and stormed across the creek and came up to this ridge, drove Armstrong's cavalry off of it, and then they entrenched on this ridge. So we're here today doing a site survey to see if we can find any remains of the fighting positions. And after 150 years, some of them will get filled in. Now, right here, we have a mound of dirt, and it's sort of flattened right here. This indicates to me that this may have been one of the original rifle pits, and it may have just been filled in with leaves by a homeowner over the years. And again, it's in the right place. It's facing north for where the enemy would be. So we also would expect on the south side of the ridge to find a trench or something from the 1st Division 14th Army Corps, where they crossed the ridge and then entrenched. But as yet, we have not found any. We will continue our site survey.
Now, would the crossing here by the Federals been in tandem with what was going on over at Herring Mill?
Yes. Haskell's division of the U.S. 23rd Army Corps had crossed, followed by Cox's division on that side over there, as had Davis's and Baird's division crossed over there. Johnson's came around this flank to try to get outflank these Southerners by going down a main road. And if this was typical of Sherman's and his army's tactics, they tried to outflank the Southerners. So if they could cross and go down a road, that's what they would attempt to do.